March 25th, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. There was no economic data that came out to really move the markets. This is what the chart looked like today. It was a very slow trading day. These candles took quite a while to close. This red line is kind of yesterday's close. Not yesterday, but Friday's close. I wasn't able to find any trades, and even then, I couldn't find very many setups that were worth mentioning. Most of the price action occurred probably between well, if you look at a 52.86 to about 52.74-ish, that's about a 14-point range. But you think 14 points is going to yield some kind of setup. But then even then, the price action was kind of in these smaller, tighter consolidations. So you can look at this as 52.81, roughly to about 52.86, 87. So it's in about 5 to 7 point range. The candles themselves, I mean, they're on any other time scale or any other day, they're pretty small because maybe it's only 2 points or 1 1/4 or 1 3/4. But there were no real setups. It was probably the true definition of watching paint dry today. There were, now don't get me wrong, there were second entries. There were a lot of second entries all over the place, but they're not clean second entries. They're just kind of like, just happen to be two pushes up or down, but that's definitely not good enough to take a trade. So no trades today. And I could even argue that there's really no setups today. There's some setups that you would kind of have to reach. And I don't know, my experience level probably isn't as advanced as other people that could probably see more trades than me, but it was definitely a no trade day. And unfortunately, you had to sit through a few hours before you realize there's nothing happening, because this is the total price action is very tiny. If you look at other days, if we take, for example, this day, if we just put a box around the entire 6.5 hours of trading, this is how much price action there was. Look how tiny this is, and tiny this is here. So it was definitely very slow. I went back and looked at my historical data, and actually the only other time that it was this slow was between Christmas and New Year's, where, most of the traders, most people have gone on vacation. So that was expected. However, trading like this at the end of March, I couldn't find any good reason why the trading would be so slow. There is Easter holiday coming up, but I don't think that would justify why prices were just moving very, very, it was just crawling today. Definitely paint drying. When I get into the setups, well, we're just going to get into the charts today. There's really no real setups. So this is the pre-market, and the pre-market, when I look at how much volume was from here to here, I could already tell it's going to be a slow day. And I thought, okay, there's one push down, one recovery, and then another push down. And it looked like it was going to be in a trading range, something like this. So I thought we were going to be range bound. Turned out we were going to be range bound. But it was just very, as you're going to find out later, each candle took several minutes to close. So it's definitely hard to trade. And also, it works on your psychology because your brain gets fatigued trying to look for setups. And when these candles form and take forever, it's easy for your mind to drift and then start seeing setups that really aren't there. You start inventing setups. And so I had to be very aware of that because I have a tendency to do that. If I sit around, I feel like I'm not being productive, and you think, well, I definitely have to take a trade. But that's not the case. You don't have to take a trade. As like today, it could be a no trade day and just walk away, live to fight another day. So there's one leg down. It confirmed the down push. So I'm thinking downtrend has played out. It made kind of a consolidation bottom. So I'm thinking it's going to push back up to the pre-market high. Market opens, it's in this tighter trading range. Nothing I see that I particularly like. As I said, there are second entries, but they're not clean second entries. Because, for example, you could say this is a new high. It's a first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but you're running up against a very clear potential resistance. And this is a very ugly signal bar. It's only 5 ticks, but just because the candle is 5 ticks, the risk is small. It doesn't mean that you should be taking the trade. And it's just kind of not the right setup either, because you can see the body's more toward the bottom. Prices move, so it made 2 legs up. So it's one push down, then a second push down, then made 2 attempts up. I'm here wondering if this support's going to hold, or is it going to launch back up to the top side. Technically, I have a new localized high here. First entry long, second entry long. Second entry long isn't a good signal bar. You could make the argument that there's potentially some kind of support here. I didn't like this violation early on to trust that this support was solid because it actually might be slightly lower, kind of where I have my pre-market lows here. or even lower than that, which is the low of the day, including the pre-market. Prices chop around, it comes back up, it hits the top, and it finds resistance. So now I'm interested. I'm thinking, is there a potential short trade here? So it's new low here. Technically, you have a first entry short, second entry short. This is your signal bar for your second entry short. You could argue it's coming off the top, and maybe there's a trade here. When I saw this, I wasn't too keen on this doji, and it was just, I don't know, just something told me just to be a little cautious. So I wanted a lower high confirmation. So right now you could have a lower high, excuse me. So you have a first entry long, second entry long, potential second entry long failure, but this isn't a very clean looking signal bar to go short on. You could argue, yes, you're having potential triple test. This could be a resistance. The highs of this yellow up channel hasn't been satisfied yet because one attempt up. The second candle could make a second attempt up, or it could flush down. So I was thinking maybe there's a short here. So here, if you were going to take a trade, maybe you would put it like one tick below here, but I don't like the looks of this price action just side by side. It's very dry. It's just not really moving all that much. So if I were to take a trade, I think I would have, I don't know if I would even take a trade. I'm not even sure this is worth marking. But if you did try to say it's a failed second entry long, maybe you put one tick below here, you would have gotten filled and looked like you would have gotten stopped out. So it made one attempt up, consolidation. Now it's making a second attempt up. It makes the measure move. It makes these orange push up, break out, test the high. I'm thinking maybe the uptrend's played out. Maybe it's going to be a failed breakout, move back into this red trading range. But this trading range doesn't look that appealing to me now. I mean, it's potentially there, but it's just prices are slow. There's some confirmation here is actually potentially a resistance, but it broke out. It's kind of dwelling for quite a while out here, especially when I saw this. Comes back down, you have first entry long. Technically you have a second entry long, but this is a doji. There's no real long trade here. It feels risky. I mean, you could make the argument it's bouncing off the top of this outside or the top of this red trading range, but I didn't feel that confident because it's a breakout side. I mean, what's telling you here to go long? You only know that it's a second entry long after this candle closes. So you can't really quite make an argument to go on the engulfing, and definitely you don't want to take it at the highs of this candle, which means you also don't want to go short just because you don't think it's going to go one way. You don't just automatically default to the other way. Because side by side, it's just ugly trading, nothing really particularly great. There's a new low, first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short here, but the bias of the market right now is range bound. So I don't really necessarily think you'd be thinking of going short. It's just not enough information to feel confident taking any direction. Moves up. Now it starts getting choppy again. It starts moving down. And this is where price action really slows down. Plus, you got candles that are side by side. And if you look at this, this is like 2 points. And so you're be trading in this congestion, trying to scalp, just say 1 point scalp, but your candles themselves are only 2 points. And they're not trending nicely. It's just kind of moving within the range, which is fine. But then the candles themselves, with respect to the size of the range, are pretty large. And I don't like that. So technically have a new high, first entry long. You technically have a second entry long, but nothing here tells you to go long. Is it a bounce off this potential trading range, this blue trading range, that you could consider this a higher low? Maybe, but I just don't like the price action here. Moves up. Technically you have a new low, first entry short, second entry short. This is your signal bar after this one closes, but this just looks wonky because it could be one push up, pull back, and you could easily think it's going to make another push up to the top. So push down, and I'm thinking maybe it's going to push up, but it kept going down. Then you have these quadruple micro top here. It's just not very obvious to me what's going on. Plus, this is already pretty much 6 or 3 hours of trading, and there's not very many candles printing. Comes down, and I do see a new high here, clearly a new swing high. First entry long, pullback, second entry long. Now, I was thinking maybe there's a trade here. I wasn't thinking at the time, but once this formed, I thought, okay, this looks like a second entry long, potentially. I guess you could argue it's a triple test, but there's a violation here, and it's just not sitting super clean. And it is biased. My mind is biased because I saw what happened afterwards, but nothing during this candle in real time would have said, I need to go long and get ready, because you'd have to trust the strength of this support, which looks like it's not quite that clean. Prices then go down, breaks, continues chopping. We technically have a visual first entry short, pullback, second entry short. This is a good signal bar for second entry short, but after a failed breakout, it's pushing back in. So I'm thinking it's going to push back to the highs. I'm definitely not thinking going short here, but I don't have anything to justify going long. If you did go short, it looks like you would have gotten a quick scalp, and then it looks like it's pushing back up, and then you do have the move from the bottom to the top. So it's just not, it feels very dicey, very risky. It breaks out of the blue trading range, and just keep in mind this is the entire trading right now, and this is already at 12 Pacific Standard. So this is already uh, 5.5 hours of trading. So there's only an hour left. And at this point, I haven't taken any trades. I don't really like the price action. I just said, you know what? Just live to fight another day. It's not happening today. And if there was a pristine setup, you have to pretty much take it in the next, I don't know, few minutes because it's just not looking good. It was very dry today. Prices kind of moved down. It kind of respects the bottom of this blue trading range. There's a new low, first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short, but again, what is this telling you? It says there's a break of this orange down channel. One attempt down, potentially a second attempt down. So are you thinking of going short? Not necessarily, because it's not apparent to do that because I'm thinking it wants to push back to the highs. But then you think you want to go long. It just pushed really hard on this candle, and it looks like it's running out of steam here. And don't be fooled by the size of this candle. If you kind of zoom in, this candle is only about 2.25 points. So very tight trading today. Ranges were very small. So even though the candles look big because you're zoomed in, it's not yielding good price action in my opinion. So it goes down. It breaks below the blue trading range. And technically it's entering the red one again. But at this point, I'm just kind of abandoning any potential for trades because you're entering the last 10 minutes. And even the last 10 minutes, price action wasn't that exciting. It was just kind of slow and it moves into the close. So in the descriptions below, I didn't really label any trades because I don't even like these two setups. So you could make arguments for more aggressive trades, but in my opinion, and just based upon my skill level, I just kind of avoided it completely. So definitely a no trade day. It was, I would say it's kind of like a watching paint dry, watching grass grow type of day. So hopefully that was helpful.